I'm Jill Beck. I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of Go Long, which is really a community for women in midlife. And the mission is to help women reclaim wellness with practical, no-nonsense strategies. And today I'm going to share some insights in understanding how to manage burnout and a challenge which so many of us face, but rarely get a chance to address in a meaningful and sustained way. So first I want to define what burnout is. And while it might feel like constant exhaustion, burnout is deeper than that. It's more than just feeling tired. It's the emotional and physical depletion from just a prolonged amount of stress. And people over 40, it's exacerbated by societal expectations, constant balance between career and family roles, particularly for women with hormonal shifts. And it impacts your focus, it impacts your mood, and it impacts your overall well-being. And how that manifests itself is in chronic fatigue, irritability, and a sense of being overwhelmed. And a lot of people just feel like they're just not themselves. And they're just like, I need to get my mojo back. I don't know what's going on. I feel stuck. And just this loss of confidence. And recognizing these signs is really crucial in kind of getting ahead of this, or at least trying to pull yourself out of it if you're already there. A lot of causes of burnout really go back to the fact that everyone now is juggling multiple roles without enough recovery time. And even if you take into account the fact that there's a lot of upside of being able to work from home, which means you don't have to commute. But for some people, that commute time was their time to disconnect from work and transition into kind of their personal mindset in terms of how they handle their things around the house. And so we're all really resilient people, but managing that toll of all these responsibilities of caregiving and career demands, it often just goes unnoticed because it's just expected and you just have to get it done. And so burnout is something that it's very insidious, I like to say, and it doesn't happen overnight. It just builds and builds and builds through different stressors, through small decisions that you make every day. And these are decisions we all make every day. Every day we're making trade-offs. You're making 1,000 decisions a day. And you're choosing not to take breaks because you're trying to get something in. You may be choosing to skip a workout so you can help your kid with their homework, whatever that is, or responding to work situations during your personal time because you're like, okay, it'll save me from doing something tomorrow. But the reality is that all of those little decisions are going to add up in terms of your brain not getting the rest that it needs to recharge and become stronger. And so that is how you get into that burnout. And, what Go Long focuses on is basically accountability by texting. Because the reality is that none of you need another meeting to go to, right? But you need something personal that is bespoke to your life and your unique challenges, whether it's taking care of your parents, whether it's dealing with a complicated work situation, or all of the above. You need something that's personal to you. And just to think about, if you can reclaim just a few moments for yourself each day, what would you do with that time? How would that help springboard you to feeling better and more energized? And so what Go Long is about is really those small decisions that you make and those small nudges to help you shift how you manage your stress and how you prioritize your wellness. And that is through a daily text message every day. Now, there's a lot of quick tips out there. For those of you who know me personally, I'm not into BS. I'm not into gimmicks. I'm not into you're going to lose 20 pounds in 12 weeks type of thing. That is not what Go Long is about. It's really around having empathy for your struggle, coming up with pragmatic solutions for your life, because I've lived that life and I'm living that life. And then there's optimism that you can make the changes you want to make, because 20 years ago, I was living a very unhealthy lifestyle. So there's three things that I kind of start with when talking to people about how to get out of burnout. First thing is setting boundaries. And most of us suck at setting boundaries. We really do. We do it with intent. We have intentions to do it, but we have a really hard time doing it because we feel like we're so committed to all these people in our lives that we have to deliver for them, whether it is your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your work colleagues. You really feel like you have to deliver on that. But defining boundaries actually helps you show up better for those people in your life, because if you're not getting the rest that you need, you're not going to be making decisions in a way that are going to propel you to where you want to go. And so it goes back to that whole adage of, when you're on the airplane, put your mask on first before helping others. By you setting the boundary, in essence, of putting on that mask, that really helps you. The second thing is around incorporating micro routines. And these are small self-care habits that really help you regain some control. And a lot of times when I was in corporate, I would be going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and I'd have no chance to get my brain to recover and internalize what I had heard before I went to a meeting on a completely different topic. And so you're not taking in the information like you need to, because we're in a culture where always busy, always hustling means that you're more important. And so taking the time to incorporate small little micro routines, whether it is putting some buffer in between meetings or really focusing on taking a meeting outside, especially while it's nice out. For those of us who live in the Pacific Northwest, we're about to go into the dark period where we set the clocks back. And so we won't see sunlight for 5 months, right? And so it's really around making sure that we're getting outside, whether even if you have a dog, walking the dog, all of those little things help. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the most underrated part of the day in a little bit. And then the third thing is daily reflection. And you can think about this as, what went well today and what didn't go so well today. And the thing is that one of the things I work with my clients is having what's called a win journal. And the win journal could be something that it's just in the notes app of your phone, where you talk about, hey, you know what? I got my kid to school on time today, even though they were throwing up when they woke up this morning, and somehow we managed to get the kid to school on time today, or whatever it is. Okay. It's just like taking time to acknowledge that, yeah, things aren't going to always go your way, but you manage to somehow get it done and persevere through it. Because obviously life gets in the way most days of us trying to accomplish our goals. So the most underrated part of the day for me that I tell people is your wind down routine. A lot of people are very stressed out and complain about not getting a good night's sleep. And the problem with that is that most of the time people are looking at this thing called the phone, or they're looking at their laptop while they're in bed and they're doing work, or they're just working right before they go to bed. And so think of this as your brain is going like 80 miles an hour, whether you're answering emails, whether you're looking at social media, whether you're reading the news, whether you're doing something with your kids. Your brain is going 80 miles an hour. Now think about if you were driving a car and you were going 80 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you had to slam on the brakes to stop, so that this way the car would come to a complete stop. If you do that all the time, that is not good for your car's brakes. So think about doing that with your brain. If you're trying to go from 80 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour in short order, that is not going to be good for your brain to get into the right mindset to sleep. So what I work with clients on is coming up with a buffer activity where you could safely bring your brain down from 80 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour. So that this way you put your brain in a better position to sleep. Now, why is this important? We probably all had plans today to get certain things done, and things got in the way, right? And that's just life. And the thing is that your buffer activity, the wind down routine, and this is more than just washing your face and brushing your teeth, it's the one time for you to reset your day. and think about, like, if I put myself in a position to get a good night's sleep, then I can wake up the next day and I make better decisions about whatever it is that life throws at me, whether it's personal or professional, the foods that I eat. I'm in a position to get a better workout in because I'm not doing what a lot of people do, including myself, like emotional eating. And so that's really the most underrated part of your day, is that coming up with that buffer activity that's going to bring your brain down a few pips from 80 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour. Small intentional changes can disrupt burnout and help you beat it. And that is where Go Long comes in, is that we just text you once a day and it's very personal to you. So buffer activities at night. So it could be listening to an audiobook, right? So think about if you don't want to like use your eyes, but you just want to listen to an audiobook, that's, some of my clients have found that to be very relaxing, that they find a book that doesn't, like, you don't want a horror book, something that's going to like freak you out, but something, on a topic that it could be. I have one client who listens to boring, he calls it boring, sci-fi books, right? And it helps calm him down and put him to sleep. So that's an example. I have another client who likes doing crossword puzzles. They just like that. So, I mean, there's different things that they could do. Some people use bubble baths, they take a bath and that helps them, and listening to music. So those are some examples, but obviously everybody's different. Kim, you have a question.
You talked about micro activities, like micro changes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? And also, like, I know you said like the wind down routine is not like with brushing your teeth and washing your
Yeah.
face. Like that's not part of the wind down routine, which I think like growing up, that's what we learned.
Right.
But can you address like habit stacking with that to incorporate what you're referring to as a wind down routine?
Yeah. So a lot of it comes down to thinking about where you're struggling and working back from there and what defines success. And so for a lot of people, it just depends on where your toughest part of the day is, right? Like a lot of my clients, but for where they're at, they're focused on, they just tell me that their sleep sucks and that they're putting on weight and they have no energy. And so a lot of it comes back to, how do we first how do we remove things from your calendar first and foremost? Like, how do we get you to ruthlessly prioritize so that you're spending time on the things that matter to you? And so with a couple of my clients, we sit there and we go through their calendars and we relate it to whatever goals that they have. And we're like, well, how much of your calendar is related to the goals that you have? Now, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. Like if you're taking care of a sick parent, that's not exactly something you have a goal about, but it's something you have to do. So you have that kind of buffer in your calendar, but there's probably things that you can do to take things off of your plate and not replace it with something else other than having time to think and time for self-care. And so the most important thing that I talk to people about with habit stacking is, first we have to create space so that you can figure out, how do we want to build the habits that are going to be the most impactful to you? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Look, you can make the changes you want to make. We're all really stressed out. It's not in your head. Everyone is going through it, and it's not a competition. So don't think that your stress isn't as bad as someone else's. It's your stress. You're not alone. It's not in your head. And I'm here to help. So with that, have a great day.